Hello everyone. I'm happy to announce that there are only 3 more rounds before the final 3 face off in front of a jury. Today, we will find out who will be evicted now that we are only down to 6 players. It's coming down to the wire now. Let's find out what happened after the previous double eviction.
It's the 12th night of the game, and after the last double eviction, some people head to bed so they can wake up in time for tomorrow's challenge. In the bathroom downstairs, Chris chats with Priscilla, thanking her for sticking to the blindside plan on Tamara. Priscilla admits it was tough, but she knows it was the right move to make. Chris says that they are in a golden position now because they are so close to making final 3 with Zoe. They just need to make sure they win the next few challenges. Priscilla laughs and says she and Zoe will definitely struggle because they can never win anything, but she'll try her best. In the blue bedroom, Lavik talks with Zoe, asking her if she knew about the Tamara vote. Zoe says she wasn't informed and only knew where her vote was going. Lavik says he's really disappointed in Priscilla because it's evident she lied to him and Tamara. Zoe breathes out and says this game is way too difficult for her. She hates seeing relationships crumble now that they are in the end game. Lavik shrugs and says they had a good path to the final 4, but now that Tamara is gone, it's going to be a challenge getting to top 3. Zoe later goes outside to reflect on her game. She talks out loud about how much she misses home. Obviously, there's only a few days to go, but it's a mental challenge in here. She feels really bad for Lavik and Priscilla. Priscilla had to make a gut-wrenching decision which upset Lavik. Zoe continues to sit outside for a long while, tears flowing down her cheeks at points. In the kitchen, Chris confronts Lavik about the blindside she pulled off, willing to lay everything out for him. She claims the move against Tamara was nothing against him. She just felt like Tamara wasn't good for her end game. Lavik says he wishes they spoke beforehand so they could air things out. He feels like this move completely draws a line in the sand between them. Chris says it doesn't have to be that way, but Lavik thinks otherwise. He admits he can't work with her because the deed has been done. Chris widens her eyes in reaction to that and says that if he doesn't change his mind on this, she'll have to target him since he's actively against her. Lavik doesn't respond and gets up to put his empty bowl away. It's now day 13, and everyone gets to the basement, finding out that they are team swapping one final time this season. They will be on 2 new teams of 3. They all then grab from the bowl ahead and unveil what teams they are on. On the new red team, we have Zoe, Chris, and Priscilla. On the new blue team, we have Millie, Bart, and Lavik. With the teams determined, it's time to get straight into the next challenge. In this challenge, everyone will answer a trivia question based on the season. Each round, if everyone is correct, the next question will be asked. If one person gets a question wrong, they are out of this challenge. If 2 or more people get a question wrong, they will get to compete in hopscotch to remain in the challenge. The winner of that would of course join back in for another crack at the trivia. The last player standing in the end will win safety for their team and will get the opportunity to save someone from the losing team. This means only 2 people will be eligible for eviction tonight. The challenge begins with question 1, and Bart and Chris are both incorrect, meaning they have to face off. They begin, and Chris has a rough start right away. Bart extends his lead while Chris takes things slow. Bart turns around, heading back to the beginning tile so he can finish. Chris reaches the end point as well and begins rotating, but Bart reaches the final tile, finishing before Chris. That means Chris is out of this challenge. On to question 2, and Priscilla and Millie get the question wrong, meaning they have to face off. They both begin and have a fast start, and Millie begins to slow down a bit as she reaches the halfway point. Priscilla leads, a little ahead of Millie. However, Priscilla falls over, so she has to start again. This gives Millie the chance to finish and win it, and she does just that. That means both Chris and Priscilla are out as it stands, meaning Zoe is the last member remaining for the red team. For question 3, Millie is the only person to get the question wrong, so she is automatically out of this challenge. For question 4, Lavik is the sole person incorrect, so he's also automatically out. That just leaves Zoe for red and Bart for blue. They are both wrong on question 5, so they both begin their hopscotch battle. Mind you, Zoe is forcing herself to do this in heels for whatever reason. It works for her because Bart stumbles a few times, having to restart every time. However, he quickly catches up since he's a faster jumper, so he eventually catches up to Zoe. Zoe tries to go faster so he doesn't win, but she's a second short as Bart reaches the final tile before her, meaning Bart wins the safety challenge for himself and his team. That means someone from the red team will be evicted tonight, but before that occurs, we need to find out who Bart saves from that team. Bart heads upstairs to the case and thinks about his safety decision. At this point, he needs to save the person who would probably keep him safe as long as possible. It's evident that Zoe and Priscilla will always be loyal to each other while Chris is more loyal to him, so this decision is quite simple. Bart chooses to save Chris, meaning either Zoe or Priscilla must leave tonight. Back inside, Millie cooks in the kitchen and Bart joins in to see how she's doing. Millie admits she's quite annoyed by him saving Chris. Tonight would have been a great opportunity to get rid of the game's biggest winning threat, but he stopped it for them. Bart says that he's doing what's best for him. Chris is a clear number for him, so he had to do this for his game. Millie smirks and says he won't be too thrilled to find out that he will lose in the final 3 once Chris beasts her way to that stage. Bart tells her that there's no point in arguing now. They have to decide whether they will evict Priscilla or Zoe tonight. Millie says they are both basically the same. Priscilla sucks more in challenges, but Zoe is also less of a social threat. Bart agrees and says they'll just have to go with whatever they think is right tonight. Priscilla later enters the kitchen region, but ignores Millie and Bart as she's going through a lot of emotions right now. Later in the evening, Zoe chats with Chris, telling her that she actually hopes she gets evicted over Priscilla. She doesn't want to see Priscilla go home. She has always been there for her, so tonight is her time to shine. Chris is asking her if she's choosing to go so Priscilla stays, and Zoe quickly nods. She wants to repay what Priscilla always did for her. Chris doesn't fight back on this and says it's up to her and the voters. Zoe then tries to bring people into the kitchen to explain this, though only gets Levique and Millie. She straight up says that she wants to go to jury tonight. She wants Priscilla to survive because it's only right for someone so respectable to get another crack at this game. Zoe then gets emotional as she talks about how amazing of a person Priscilla is. Meanwhile, Millie is irritated by all of this, essentially making tonight a waste of a vote. She admits she needs to go outside with Levique to discuss this vote, and Zoe turns back to look at her, once again saying that she really wants to go tonight. She begs them to vote her as they head outside. Once outside, Millie sits down and uses the bubble machine to cool off. She explains to Levique that she's really irritated right now because Zoe is forcing them to vote her off when they really could just get rid of Priscilla, the social threat. She's super likable and could win a jury vote easily, unlike Zoe who is a quitter and a sheep. Levique breathes out and says it really sucks that they can't evict Chris tonight. It would have been a great opportunity, but Bart made his move to make sure one of the floaters go. Millie says that she will consider voting Priscilla anyway. She doesn't care if Zoe wants to go to jury just to be nice. This game isn't about what she wants. It's an individual game. Before the eviction, Priscilla and Zoe stand in the bathroom in silence as they process that one of them needs to go tonight. Zoe sighs and explains that she tried to get the votes on herself so Priscilla can take a crack at this end game. She has more willingness to get to the end and win. Priscilla is in shock and doesn't know why she campaigned to go to jury. She should have just let the voters decide. But Zoe tells her not to worry. She's making this decision for their friendship. She hugs Priscilla and emotionally talks about everything she has done for her in this game. She recalls how Priscilla comforted her day one after getting such bad anxiety. She has been her rock all game, so now it's time for her to make a sacrifice for her. Priscilla sobs, speechless by all of this. As the two continue to have their moment, we should get into this eviction with Chanel.
Why, hello. Welcome back to another eviction, folks. We will be going from 6 players to 5 after tonight. Let's head inside and see how things play out. Hello, house guests. It's about time we get to yet another eviction. Just a reminder that since Bart won the challenge today, his whole team is safe. He also gave safety to Chris from the losing team, which means only Zoe and Priscilla are vulnerable for the vote. With that, it's time we get the blue team to vote. Millie, you are first. Hi, Millie. Who will you evict tonight? Thank you. Levique, you are next. Who will you evict tonight? Bart, to the diary room. Your vote is locked in. House guests, I have the results. Zoe, Priscilla, one of you received all 3 votes. That person must leave the house immediately after saying goodbye to the rest. The person leaving tonight with 3 votes is Zoe.
Zoe gets up with Priscilla and both instantly sob uncontrollably and eventually hug each other. Zoe tells her to keep her head high, wishing her so much luck. Zoe says goodbye to the rest and heads out. In Zoe's final thoughts, she talks about how amazing this experience has been. It wouldn't have been as good without Priscilla by her side. She was her rock in this game. It's super interesting how well they got along this season, especially since Priscilla is much younger than her. Yet, Priscilla was the person who kept her calm all season. She's super thankful, and for those reasons, Zoe wants Priscilla to take the win home. She deserves it the most because of her empathetic nature.